Okay, so if this is all correct and if we run it, at least it should show us the registration form and the validation aspect. So let's try to run the live server. I'm just going to run it here, and if there are no errors, it should run without any problems. So yeah, it's saying serving flask name, flask app name, debug mode on, and this is the address of the server, which if I go to, should not really work, because of course this is the login route and we have not defined it. But the register route that we have defined, this one, register, this should work. So yeah, the moment I went to the register route, our sign up form showed up. And let me try with some random data. Okay, let me enter something which is invalid and let's see. And password, I will enter something which is not valid, and if I just submit it with this data, it should not allow me to sign up. Okay, so if I click on submit, it says use at least 6 characters. Okay, let me use wait, let me just, yeah, and okay, and then if I say submit, it says that the passwords was fine, but it said invalid email address, which is not correct, right? So its validation is working. So let me enter something which is all valid, and let's see if this works. So let me enter something which is I think I had tried it with that email earlier, so I'll change it. Okay, yeah, and let me enter the same password. So if I submit, it says sign up successful, which means everything was validated and everything that we defined in our program is working. Now if I click on back to login, it should take me to a page which has email ID and password to login. Of course, we have not really written the coding for it, so it's just saying not found because we haven't done it. So the time is now, and we should actually define the login routes and how that is going to work. So in my app.py file, this is my initialized DB and these are my routes for registration. So I would rather just create some space here and start creating the routes for login. Okay, now app.route, okay, the default route, which is this. Okay, when you just say slash and nothing, which means this is the first thing that will open up when a user goes to the app. I can call it home or anything. Okay, this should take me to the login page. Okay, so the form that should show up should be the login form, because we are not starting our app with the registration page, we are starting our app with the login page, right? So form is login form, and I will render a template which I will create later. Just now render the template, and I can call it login.html or index.html, anything that you want to name it. Okay, the title of this would be just login. Okay, and the form, it will be the form that you have actually defined here. Okay, so now this route is defined and it will take me to index.html, which I will create. Okay, but what if the user logs in? Then what will happen? How the server is going to respond? We have to write the programming for it. Okay, so when the user signs in with the correct email ID and password, they should be able to log in. Okay, that's what the server should do. So we are going to define the route for that now. So app.route, okay, login. Okay, methods is again post, because they will be submitting data to the server. They will submit their email ID and password to the server, and the server should respond accordingly, right? So define the login route, and very similar, the form that will be used for login would be login form, okay, which was defined in our forms.py file, right? So if flask dot request dot method is equals to post, okay, that's of course the main thing, and form validates, which means things were fine with email ID and password. So if both the conditions are met, then what do? We take the email. Actually, I should just copy the stuff from the registration. It's the similar stuff here. So email and password I need to connect to the database. I need to create a cursor. Okay, this is all the same stuff, right? Yeah, so I'll just copy it here. So it should get the email, form.email.data, form.password.data, create a connection with the database. Okay, and then we will just run a query to see if this email and password that they have entered is correct or not. Okay, if it is correct, then of course we'll give access to the sticky notes, otherwise we will not really. Okay, so cursor dot execute. Okay, what do we want to execute? We want to select the password, okay, because we want to check whether the password is correct or not. Okay. So select password from users where email equals to, okay, and we can just pass it as a tuple, right, or you can pass it as a list. Okay, so email, yeah. So let's see what is the stored password in the database. So stored password is going to be cursor dot fetch one. When there are more than one records, then you use fetch all, but since here is just one password for one email, it's going to be fetch one. Okay, so this is the stored password. If stored password is none, okay, let's say there is somebody who's trying to log in but they have not really signed up, so their stored password is going to be none for that person. Okay, so you are just going to give them a message, user not found, because we don't have an entry for your email ID and password. There's nothing in our database, so user not found. Okay, and you can even say please sign up or something like that. Okay, else if the password is equals to the password that they entered in the login form, if that's equal to the stored password, 0 is like the first element basically in the stored password, because stored password is going to return you a tuple or a list, and we are looking at the first element, so 0 is like the index position of that password. So if the passwords match, okay, then what we are going to do, we are going to retrieve the email which is stored in the session, or not retrieve, actually we are going to store in the session the email ID of the person who has logged in. Okay, we will be using this email later on, I'll tell you why, but the email, because they have logged in, we want to store it in the session to say that yes, this person has been able to log in, and so store their email ID into your session right now, the current session which is going on. Okay, and then I will actually do what? I will actually, if they have logged in properly, then I want to show them their sticky notes. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to say cursor dot execute. Okay, select email from users where email equals to, in the tuple, you can even use a list or a tuple, anything, I just keep, yeah, and then I get their email. Okay, cursor dot fetch one. Okay, so I get the email of the person who has logged in, and now I will use this email to go to the sticky notes table and retrieve their sticky notes. If they have logged in properly, then of course I would want to start and welcome them with the sticky notes that they had stored earlier, right? So I'm going to say cursor dot execute. Okay, select star from which table? From the sticky table, because now we are using this email address to match with the sticky notes table and retrieve all the sticky notes that they've stored. Okay, where email matches the one that is in the this one. Okay, email, and you should use 0 over here in this case because it's the fetched email and it's the first basically the first element of that email that we are using, right? So that's a tuple, and so comma, right? Their sticky notes will be many if they have stored more, so fetch all, please get all the sticky notes from sticky where the email matches with the person who has logged in. So I'm getting all their sticky notes. Okay, and I want to display them of course on page, so I'm going to say return flask dot render underscore template, and I will make this page later. It's called sticky.html page, which I showed you in the introduction, which has the ability to add those sticky notes. That's the page. I will also pass on the email because I want to, if you saw my app, it says welcome and then it shows my email ID. So this template needs to have information about who logged in. So that's why I'm just giving it to the email. and all the notes which have been fetched by these the database, they will also be shown over there. Okay, so this is what will happen if the user is able to log in. Okay, but what if that the password was incorrect? Okay, so that nothing, you just go else, and you're going to say message is login failed, we don't have it. Okay, right, so message is login failed. So this is for all of these ifs, but what if this, any of this was not correct, like if last dot method was not post, or if the form did not validate, in that case also I want to display a message which will be maybe similar to login failed. Okay, that the it was validation problem or something like that. Okay, so login failed. Yeah, so after doing this, I can actually just safely close the connection with the database. Okay, and I can return the template, which is the login page only, because in this case, if this is not correct, right, if this is validation problem was there or the password was incorrect, then of course I don't want to take them to sticky.html, then I want to keep them to the login page only so that they can try again. So in this case, it will be render template and it will be index.html, which is my login page. Okay, that they did not get access to it. Form will be form, which is the login form. Okay, and message will be whatever message is generated by the app in this case. Okay, login failed or user not found or anything. Okay, because I only want to take them to sticky.html only if the password matches with the stored password, then, right, and they have notes. So this is my login route. Okay, I think this is okay. Yeah, so that's about it. In the next video we will create the index.html and we will create sticky.html.